Rishi Budhrani. Hi everyone. By the end of this set, I hope to explain why I'm dressed like an MP at a community centre National Day event.
I'm Rishi Budhrani, and I'm a stand-up comedian.
I'm a 10-year married man. We had a neighbour married multiple times, right? I said, Auntie, what happened? She said, COE expired.
I'm as Singaporean as it gets. Born in 1984, I grew up in Bedok playing football under my block. Ate too much Hokkien mee. Knocked it down during national service.
And can switch to Singlish when needed lor.
This island is the only home I know. I never thought twice about my identity. This year, as we celebrate our nation's 60th birthday, I find myself wondering if everyone feels the same way I do. So I set off on a 12-month-long journey. I spoke to Singaporeans from all walks of life. I want to find out just how important the Singapore identity is to them.
I don't wake up with like, oh my God, I'm an Indian in Singapore. But it can be used to make me feel less Singaporean.
Considering Singapore's social standards of being like smart and being like really good at everything, I always feel like I'm never gonna be good enough to live that standard. And when I don't reach those standards, I always feel like, am I really meant to be in here or am I meant to be somewhere else?
We are a small country, we really have to be great at almost everything we do in order to survive.
We are a city-state. If you don't feel Singaporean, then what? Are you just going to retreat into your HDB home?
What does being Singaporean really mean in a country that's always changing, always moving forward? I'm starting my journey with them. They are among the first generation of Singapore citizens. Project Citizens, the First Million, is an initiative collecting stories from them for a memorial to our founding fathers.
So we have a few activities today. First, you have the Have You Ever?
For me, it's the perfect chance to ask, what made the pioneer generation start to feel Singaporean? These topics and these themes are quite specific. How were they selected?
You can see here in this first row, right, it's about how they learn something new. All right, and then the second row here is more about multiculturalism. Right, and then this is about the changes during our Independence Days. We are going to give up each one a sticker. So you can see here a story card, right? If any one of this you have experience, you put a sticker here.
Learn a second language.
Learn the second language.
I feel that I'm very fortunate to be able to receive an education. When I was much younger, we had a struggle. So girls were not so much in favor to go and complete their education. I went out to work so that I can pay for my fees. That is one reason why I became a teacher.
The Malay and the Chinese in Geylang area. Yeah, we were there.
What do you remember from that?
We were told not to go out, you know. They have curfew. From the radio, you can tell them which area was a big problem.
Do you remember how you felt?
We were so worried, because it never happened in Singapore.
Okay, Mr. Chia, through that experience, maybe you can tell me what you learned.
Yeah, the mixing is important. Mixing because you understand each other better.
What makes you Singaporean?
This is the only country that we have so many races, Malay, Chinese, Indian. It makes this country is more beautiful.
Are you proud to be Singaporean?
Definitely.
The entire project will involve over 400 seniors sharing stories from Singapore's early, gritty years. Their shared experience might just be where our sense of identity really began. After the session, I catch up with volunteer Jong Tong, and he's got something he wants to show me.
What document are we looking at here, JT?
We found this in my mom's cabinet. It is actually the Singapore Citizenship Ordinance of 1957. My mom and dad registered as Singaporean citizens. This certificate of registration is really the first marker for an ordinary person to become a Singaporean or Singapore citizen. They are all under British rule then. Then the 1957 Singapore Citizenship Ordinance is where they put in the legislation to say that, hey, now we want all this population in Singapore to become Singapore citizens. So we did this job in 22nd November 1957.
Why do you feel it was important for them to get citizenship in Singapore at the time?
For them, it's pragmatic. If my mom, my dad don't have a citizenship, will they ask to leave Singapore? So there's always this constant fear also. They know they're from China, from Hainan, but after staying here for quite a number of years, they found roots here. They belong here, they got family here, they got work here. They can now make sure that in future their children have a place to call their home.
Do you think being able to have our own citizens contributed to the building of Singapore's national identity?
I think it's the start of that. Now they are called citizens of Singapore. To me, that's the start of nation building. And they can call Singapore home. It belongs to the same piece of land now, right? It's the starting point where they feel belong.
And getting citizenship, it confirms your belonging to Singapore.
Yeah, I think so.
Across the world, we've gotten used to the idea of rallying around a nation defined by geographical borders. This membership decides whom we take sides for, whom we cheer for, and even how we see ourselves. But not too long ago, we grouped ourselves through things that were much closer to us. The origins of our forefathers, the languages we spoke, the faiths we believed in. But this was the first marker of being Singaporean. It came in the form of a certificate with your name on it and an official seal. After independence, the National Registration Identity Card, or NRIC, was introduced as everyday proof of identity and citizenship.
I got my IC or identity card when I was 12. I really don't remember much about it. I just remember thinking my IC photo looks a bit weird. Now, there's a whole ceremony dedicated to receiving your IC for the first time. And I've been invited to one.
Students today get their NRICs at age 15. The change happened a year after I got mine.
Today we're going to have our NRIC presentation ceremony for our Sec 3 students.
Why do you think an event or a ceremony like this is crucial for the students at this age?
Getting their NRIC is like a membership to be a Singaporean. So we want to make this special for them. It's the golden opportunity for us to reinforce all this reflection for them to think about what it means to be Singaporean. Rishi, do you bring your IC today?
Yeah, I have my IC.
Do you want to join us in the NRIC ceremony and see it for yourself?
Okay, why not?
Good morning, Sec 3s. It's a very, very important day. You're all receiving your pink cards. It's not just a card with your photo and your IC number, but it is a certificate of your responsibilities, of the privileges that you're entitled to as a citizen of this country. You have your voting rights, you have your subsidies. No one in our country can say, oh no, I cannot afford healthcare. I couldn't afford to study.
This is a weirdly nerve-wracking moment. These kids have no idea why there's an overgrown Sec 3 boy here.
And just like that, I'm part of a tribe and reminded what it means to be Singaporean.
Hey, why y'all not smiling? Y'all not happy to get your IC? Smile.
While we've always had a physical declaration of our identity, over the years, we no longer needed it.
I believe it's really easy to spot a fellow Singaporean. No, you don't have to wear red and white.
There have always been some, if you know things. So, on our 60th year of independence, I want to find out what makes all of us identify as Singaporean today. In 2021, the Institute of Policy Studies conducted a survey to understand Singapore's identity. Seeing that so much has changed in the last couple of years, we are working with them to commission another one.
So, Doc, I'm trying to understand what, in your view, is national identity?
So national identity can sound very vague, but in most people's ideas, minds, I think what national identity would mean is really what defines the nation, what you can use to describe people who are part of the nation, and perhaps the characteristics that people display.
Why do you think national identity is important?
It's something that sort of is the gel that holds people of a nation together. So if you don't have that national identity, that affiliation with each other, it can really just mean that you are just living on the same land, but there's nothing to connect you with each other.
Why is it important to do this particular survey now?
Singapore has been a nation for 60 years, and it is really something we have slowly developed, national identity, but we have never really tried to fully grasp it. We have some ideas. Some people, when you ask them, they say, oh, speak Singlish or our food. But what we want to know is also how importantly these things are relative to other elements and other aspects.
Do you think we will get some definitive answers?
We wouldn't want to overpromise.
This sounds like a Singaporean value. Don't overpromise.
Perhaps.
Underpromise and overachieve.
Yeah.
That's who we are. Okay.
The nationwide survey we launched asked 2,000 Singapore residents questions like, what does it mean to be Singaporean? How has it changed over the years? Has our sense of identity weakened? Has it strengthened? And why is it so important to have this sense of national identity? This online survey was conducted over 2 months.
And before you say, hey, Singapore got identity, meh? Well, overwhelmingly, 96.3% of the respondents say, God, who say don't have?
We listed a total of 43 different traits in our survey and asked respondents which best describes what it means to be Singaporean. I've got the top 5 here, and I'm bringing it to these guys.
To be Singaporean for me would be speaking in Singlish.
The first thing comes into my mind is being kiasu lah. We want to be first in everything.
I would say anything freebies. Where was that?
Gen Z lingo, but Hokkien. Ghosting. Bo xia, bo sik.
How to become a millionaire in Singapore?
Sell a HDB.
What is the national sport of Singapore?
Complaining.
Put a finger down if you shower with hot water, even though the weather is hot.
They've made being Singaporean their thing on social media.
So we asked our respondents, what are the top Singaporean traits? I'm going to reveal the top 5 right here. The Singaporean trait that ranked 5th was this.
Respect, authority, and order.
The 4th Singaporean trait that came up was law-abiding.
Almost the same as 5, right? Almost.
Let's go for number 3, and that is... Why was your reaction so strong to this?
I
Why you start laughing uncomfortably? Like, is it true or is it untrue?
To me, it's true because almost 80% of the Singaporeans I know, right? Every time I meet them and I ask, "How are you?" The first thing they do is they do a huge sigh. They're like,
"Oh, busy, busy."
Yes.
Number 2 Singaporean trait.
Kiasu or competitive. Even if we don't want to admit it, so there's the inner kiasuness in us.
My daughter, my son, and they'll do the one-upping each other, right?
What school you go to? What school?
And the top Singaporean trait, according to our survey respondents, was...
Value education.
Okay,
value education? Wait, what?
This means that Singaporeans value education.
Fair? Fair, we do. Actually, we really do.
Out of the 43 traits that were indicated in our survey, these top 5 stood out most to our 2,000 respondents.
Overall, you think it's an accurate representation of who we are as Singaporeans? These top 5 traits.
I think there are stereotypes. We are very first world and we're very hardworking country. We have to be, right? And that's why I think stress or it just will happen in a fast-paced country, right, such as Singapore. And I mean, the law abiding responsibility, well, it's true, I guess. We are a very safe country because of that, right? And I also think it's how Singapore was shaped, right, since independence. We are a small country. We really have to be great at almost everything we do in order to survive. Which is what, honestly, my parents did tell me. Like, why can't you go and just get a business degree, banking degree, doctor degree, whatever degree, right?
And that's what they mean when they say we value education. Because get a paper qualification. Shah, what comes to mind when you look at this top 5?
Honestly, it's giving me corporate vibes.
What do you mean by corporate vibes?
I mean, first thing first, respect authority and order. It's giving me like corporate rules. Hierarchy, like you must follow, must listen to the boss and stuff. Stress and overwork. It's an office kind of problem right there. Value education also, to me, is quite corporate because like, when you go for jobs, the first thing they ask, what's your qualification?
According to the survey, these are the top 5 Singaporean traits. What do you think it says about Singaporeans?
Slightly pessimistic, maybe. Except for value education, I think the rest feel it's very...
It's sad.
It feels sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, like I would love to see like a Singlish or like diversity inside here, but then the stuff here is either a bit too serious or a bit too negative.
I don't think Singaporeans think that we need this. But it's more like that, law. It's really a circumstance, right? That, our country is like that, so therefore it's built this way and it's the price of progress. And so we're like that, law. But I don't think deep inside everyone wants it to be like that.
I would expect more like happy traits. Like for example, it may be like Brazilians, they are very hyper, very happy. Singaporean, oh no, we are kiasu, competitive. Okay, that's fine, but stress and overwork, why is this a trait?
Why is this what makes us who we are?
Yes.
And I think safe to say, everybody here is proud to be Singaporean.
Of course.
But these traits, you're not proud of.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm not proud of it, but I wouldn't say I'm gonna make sure it changes.
The survey also asked if the respondents were proud to be Singaporean. 72.4% said yes.
But in a separate question, when we asked them to compare the strength of our national identity today versus 10 years ago, while 46.8% said it's stronger, 29% say it's weakened. I'm speaking to Associate Professor Daniel Goh, who has been studying the evolution of Singapore's national identity. So, Prof, we asked a group of 2,000 Singaporeans and PRs about the strength of Singapore's national identity compared to 10 years ago. About 24% of our respondents said that there has been no change. Nearly 30% of the respondents say it has become weaker, and nearly half the respondents felt like it's become stronger.
Why do you feel that this number is so high, that people feel like it's become stronger compared to 10 years ago? What would you say to that?
I'll be biased. I'll say that my reason is this idea of emotional citizenship. So we have been encouraging that, right, through our National Day Parade. Our National Day Parade has gone from just a showcase of military hardware to tell people not to mess with us, to one that is a lot more emotional. where people are crying and it's very touching. And so it's the emotional aspect is very important. The feelings that are associated with it, and to encourage those positive feelings.
Why do you think it is important for people to feel Singaporean?
It's important to have that Singaporean identity, especially because Singapore is small. We are a city-state. If you don't feel Singaporean, then what? Are you just going to retreat into your HDB home? And then do what, right? And also having a purpose, a long-term purpose, right? Because the nation has this imagination of it being forever, or at least we will try to make sure that it lasts forever.
I'll bring your attention to this number right here. Nearly 30% of the respondents felt like it's become weaker.
And if you look at every nation has one thing in common. Every country has a promise, and the national identity is very closely associated with the promise. So our national pledge, right? Happiness, prosperity, progress, that's our promise, right? And that promise is important because that's where it gives you purpose in belonging to Singapore. And if that is used as a way to kind of think about national identity and whether it has weakened or not, then perhaps we're talking about this 30% is saying that maybe we're not fulfilling the promise. It could be a perception thing that could have some reality behind it. Is it because we're losing that strength of being multicultural, right? Or is it because, of the question of progress? I'm being left behind, right? I'm not giving enough help, right, to get the jobs that I need, and my family is facing a lot of difficulties, right, with all these globalization and changes in the workforce. I'm being left behind.
Is that something we should be concerned about?
I think so. I think we need to drill down on the data and to find out if this is linked to social class. It could be that too, right? Because around the world, what we are seeing is that you have people who are thinking about the national identity, feeling about the national identity vis-a-vis globalization, because they've been left behind by globalization. They feel that they have not been benefiting, right, whereas other people have been.
In an annual ministerial forum held at the National University of Singapore, Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong was asked about how Singaporeans think of themselves.
I think I can say that the national identity is stronger, but at the same time, it is not the only tribe which we belong to. Because we all have different layers to our identity. You may also have different political views, you may be pro-government, you may be pro-opposition. You may have different sexual orientations and therefore different circles of friends and different perspectives on the world. Race is very important. Language is important. So these are all other aspects, and we must know that because we are one people. But that people, we're not all identical, and there are fault lines which we have to guard.
In the same survey, we asked what conflicts with our national identity, and there were a few different options.
These came out on top. Country of birth, not serving national service, race or ethnicity, and socioeconomic status.
Socioeconomic status ranked number 4. 32.2% of you feel socioeconomic status affects your sense of belonging. You see, there's no one thing that decides what socioeconomic status or SES someone comes from. But in Singapore, studies usually look at a combination of factors, including household income and housing type. About 66% of those who live in smaller housing types, like 1 to 3 room HDB flats, say they are very proud to be Singaporean.
But compare that to the 72% who stay in bigger HDBs and the 74% who stay in private property.
And when asked if they feel a strong sense of belonging to the country, about 62% of those who earn 3,000 Singapore dollars or less say yes, they do.
That's about 6% lower than those who earn more than 3,000 Singapore dollars a month. To find out why people who are generally of lower SES may identify less with being Singaporean, I'm gathering 10 students for a social experiment. They're all either in secondary schools or in institutes of higher learning. What sets them apart? Their socioeconomic backgrounds.
Folks, thank you all for coming. I'll be reading out a series of statements, and if you feel like you agree with that statement, I want you to take a step back. If you think that it does not apply to you, just remain where you are. First statement, I sometimes doubt whether I can reach my goals because of my background.
I'm in a disadvantage because I came from a low income family and let's say I used to be trouble.
You used to be trouble?
Just school trouble, and it's in the record. So a low income family, usually you are left alone. So when that boredom comes, that is where troubles also come, like influence from friends. For example, friends ask to go do some things that are not morally right. So I worry about my future.
What is it that you want to actually do with your future?
I want to be a social worker in the future. But as a social worker, the records of a social worker must be clean.
I feel I can't fit into some groups because I don't speak English well. I feel disadvantaged when I compare myself to others.
I feel like I'm very mediocre compared to other people as I'm a normal academic student. I would really like to go to JC. Everyone says it's always impossible, I have to work very, very hard for it. That's why I feel that, teachers and maybe some friends, they say like, oh, yeah, NA means that you can't go to JC.
There's one group of people who score really well and then they are able to get into top schools in Singapore. And there's another group of people who don't score really well, but they are still able to get into top schools, maybe like overseas, because they are more financially able. I feel if you are middle income or lower income and you score mediocre, you are forced into mediocre schools.
For me, like, I can't really gain knowledge because I don't have the money for it. So it's like quite hard to reach where I want to be.
Why do you feel like money is an important aspect of getting where you want to get in terms of your studies?
Those who are financially stable, they have the money for tuition, and I don't really have that. So I have to just be on my own.
I feel like I don't have a fair chance to do well in Singapore. Edley.
I feel that way is because that people judge me for my background. In Singapore, really, they will check A to Z about everything, what we did in the past or what we can't control, like our family background.
And that's why you feel you don't have a fair chance to do well in this country?
Yeah.
I think the education system in Singapore does not value students like me. Next one. I don't consider myself a satisfactory student in Singapore.
Considering Singapore's social standards of being smart and being really good at everything, I always feel like I'm never gonna be good enough to live that standard. And when I don't reach those standards, I always feel like, am I really meant to be in here or am I meant to be somewhere else?
I feel like the education, the standards, I don't really fit into it. Therefore, I feel left out.
And Paige, so you pretty much stood still throughout the statements. Was there any point where you were caught in two minds about moving?
I think I was very clear that I was going to stay at this position. Today, when I was hearing my peers' responses to each of the statements, it made me feel very, conflicted because I heard some stories about not being able to have the same level of opportunity just because of your background.
Celeste.
So we tend to talk a lot about how Singapore is a true meritocracy, but I think personally that's if we assume that everyone is on the same level playing field, which is where I benefit from the systems. From someone who is from a pretty above average, higher SES level, I feel like I do have a strong sense of belonging to Singapore, mainly because I feel that I don't have much issues when it comes to growing up, finding a job.
The results of the experiment show in Singapore, not everyone might begin at the same starting line in life. Those more privileged might have a head start. Those without the benefit of resources or connections might trail behind. The real question is, when the system works in your favor, is it easier to feel like you belong?
What's a sport that's representative? Mugging. I feel like everyone is actually under a lot of stress, but is the cost worth it? I'm not too sure.
I feel like those that are staying in the higher level are looking down on those lower income.
If we don't stay together, that will be a threat to our national identity. These foreigners coming in, they come with their own identity. It will affect our identity because we will get mixed up with other identities.
I feel like I don't have a fair chance to do well in Singapore. Professor Nathan Peng, who has been studying how inequality is felt in Singapore, helped me shape the statements for this social experiment.
I want to understand why you feel students like these, of this age group, might be suitable subjects for an investigation like this.
For students, even if different schools, they are going through the same system, and it reflects something that we really care about, which is what they experience in the educational system. What they experience in schools have lifelong consequences on their eventual socioeconomic destinies.
Talk me through what you believe is the link between how someone feels about themselves to how they feel about having a sense of belonging or having a sense of identity to the country.
I think when a person reflects on themselves and how they see themselves, they are also reflecting how they see the system as a whole. So when you talk about belonging, right? For example, Singapore, some of the students mentioned it, right? To be Singaporean is sometimes comes across as you need to be successful, you need to be good at everything. And that is the Singaporean student that people uphold, right, as something to aspire to. And when they feel that they fall short of these ideas, then they say that, okay, if these represents what it means to be Singaporean and I am not living up to these ideals, then therefore I am not Singaporean.
So there is a link that we can see there is between a sense of self-identity and national identity. Because, like you said, it's not just a reflection of their personal experiences, it's a reflection of their experiences within the Singaporean system and within the Singaporean society.
Yes.
Okay. What does one's SES have to do then with the sense of belonging to Singapore?
What SES does, very practically speaking, is to give people different experiences. Where do you holiday? Where do you hang out after school? What kind of activities do your parents send you for? How do you speak a certain language or don't speak a certain language? And at the end of the day, when different groups feel that they cannot identify with one another, when they come together and realize, you know what, we live very different lives, we hang out at different places, we eat different things, we hold different values, and suddenly they can no longer identify with each other. So that's when identity starts to diverge. So I think once someone feels that, you know, because of my family background, I no longer have these shared traits, so I am therefore excluded from this idea of nation or Singapore.
Do you think that there is a sense of being left behind just based on the fact that they have different starting points?
Yes, definitely. I would say I definitely know of people who feel that they have been left behind simply because of the family that they are born into.
Is it not one of the values that the Singapore society prides itself on? Meritocracy.
I think it is an idea we aspire to. In the past, when starting points were relatively equal, there was a reality of many people making it despite their backgrounds. And we have many ministers, politicians, prominent business people who came from humble backgrounds. But we cannot be complacent in how we understand meritocracy. Once we confuse the idea of meritocracy with the reality of it, that's when we start using meritocracy as a way to justify inequality. And that is a highly dangerous thing to do. The idea is that if we put in the effort, we will succeed. What that also means in inverse is that if I have not succeeded, I either have not put in the effort or I do not have merit. And that is a very dangerous narrative to go by. So I think we need to recognize the disadvantages of having less and help to mitigate some of these effects.
For the students, there is a sense that, the lower your SES, the weaker your sense of belonging. Would it be the same for adults as well?
So I would say compared to students, the dynamics might be even more intense because they are at the stage where they really see how their disadvantage have landed them in certain positions that maybe they feel that were not deserved. They felt that maybe if I had certain advantages, maybe I would be doing better today. And because of that, they might feel even more excluded from the system than they did as students.
Socioeconomic status, or SES, had the fourth highest level of agreement at 32.2%. But by a razor-thin margin of just 0.1%, race came in third, with 32.3% of people saying that ethnicity might not always align with being Singaporean.
I think what represents Singapore is that we are all very friendly to each other regardless of race.
The Singapore national identity should be a blend of all the identities. The people in Singapore, the main races are like the Chinese, the Malay, the Indians and the Eurasian.
Once we start to see each other's race and language and religion, then the division starts to appear. Oh, you are not Singaporean, you are Chinese or you are Indian, you are Malay. Then if we start believing those things and seeing each other with that vision, then we may not be so accommodating or accepting of each other.
So when I'm not hosting documentaries like this one, I tell jokes for a living.
I have no doubts that I am Singaporean, right? But people who meet me sometimes are not too sure. I was walking my dog in my neighborhood the other day, right? And there was a real estate agent who was showing a house to a young Chinese couple, right? Chinese couple sees me walking the dog, looks at the real estate agent, looks at me and goes, "Hey, I ask you, here is it got a lot of Indian people stay one?" Real estate agent looks at me, looks back at the couple and goes, "Huh? No, no, where go?"
I think it is important to talk about race in the context of stand-up comedy because it is an easy way to get people having conversations about difficult things.
I booked a ride-hailing app, right? And when I got in the cab, I got those questions. Brother, you Singaporean? And I tell them, yes, I am. The guy said, sometimes when I come to this area, I will turn off my app. Here too many foreigners. So now, I have found myself in a position where I am trying to overprove how Singaporean I am. When I'm going to get into a ride-hailing app, right, what I'll do, I'll wear my Singapore Armed Forces No. 4 uniform. I carry the Singapore flag in one hand, I got my IC in the other.
Does it sometimes happen that way, that because of your race and your ethnicity, because you are a minority, you are treated differently in Singapore? The answer is yes. I personally have experienced that, but I personally don't let my race conflict with my Singaporean identity. I'm still very proud of my Singaporean identity, and I'm still very proud of who I am racially.
I brought together a group of Singaporeans from different races. Instead of mirroring the nation's ethnic makeup, we've got 2 individuals from each of the 3 major racial groups for equal representation. I'm now going to show them the results of the survey.
Race conflicts with national identity. About 30% of those from the Chinese community said that they agree For the Malay community, it was the largest proportion, followed by approximately 40% in the Indian community. Juliana, why you think this number is as big as it is?
My experience personally is like growing up, I valued my Singaporean identity a lot more because I was in a primary school that had 50% of the students are from ASEAN. So they were from Philippines, Japan, Korea, Myanmar. My race wasn't so apparent to me until I entered a secondary school where it was mostly Singaporeans. And then they started to divide us with race. And I was like, oh, okay, this is something new. And it's not actually something that I identify with. I don't want to be identified by my race, actually. I wasn't comfortable with that. But as I moved through in life, I realized that Singaporeans like to, segregate ourselves into race.
Why do we like to segregate ourselves into race? Anybody want to jump in?
Convenience is one thing. It's also a sense of belonging in our grouping. It makes living a lot easier. And I guess race is the most accessible one, especially since institutionally it's recognized as well. So
on your IC, on your birth certificate, it's all there, right? Does your race ever make you feel less or more Singaporean, Gomati?
No.
No?
No, it doesn't. But it can be used to make me feel less Singaporean.
Whoa.
I feel like personally, I don't wake up with like, oh my God, I'm an Indian in Singapore.
I think I realize what she's saying because the recent incident kind of hit me kind of personal as well. When you're growing up, racism, it's like they always say it out loud, nothing subtle. Now they are discreet, even though it's casual, you can see them making an effort to not make it obvious. But when someone else on stage makes a statement, it's like, what? We're going back now.
Are you referring to election period?
Exactly. That one thing, I'm like, are you serious right now?
My race doesn't conflict with my national identity objectively. But what's interesting in the past couple of years, I think it's to do with like the changing demographics. New Singaporeans or foreigners, they come up and ask me, oh, so what are you? It's always what are you? It's never too direct. It's like, oh, so what are you? And then I tell them, oh, I'm Singaporean. That's how I answer. I'm like, no, but you're Indian, right?
Do these things make you feel any less Singaporean?
I do find that people ask Malays and Indians a lot about their race and where they come from.
For the gentlemen who are representing the majority race here, are these your experiences?
Yeah, I think there is the perception that as the majority race, you won't be able to see a lot of differences in, day-to-day lived experiences, right? But I think even Chinese Singaporeans are facing a crisis of what their identity is. What does it mean to be Singaporean Chinese versus even like China Chinese? And I think that's where the statement of national identity is something that more Chinese Singaporeans are learning how to grapple with.
I feel a strong sense of belonging to Singapore. Let's take a look at some of the results of our respondents.
Whoa, look at the Indians.
Yo,
oh my goodness.
Exactly. I know. The minority race communities were the ones who felt like their race conflicted with their national identity.
Yep.
And now we see it is those same group of minority communities, the Malays and the Indians, who also agree strongly that they feel a strong sense of belonging to Singapore. Who are we? Why are we such enigmas?
It's something about the community itself. When you're Indian and you settle into a country, you're really laying down roots.
I'm having goosebumps right now because that is my family story.
Yeah.
Like literally my grandfather coming here to set up shop and make that decision, for better or worse, through the conflicts, through the whatever it is, we're setting up shop here.
Yeah.
Why do the members of the Chinese community in this survey rank lowest in terms of agree?
Actually, this statistic does worry me because young Singaporeans today, it's all Japanese brands for the basics. Pop culture is all Korean, music, TV. Now our food, bubble tea, mala is all Chinese, right? China Chinese. So the idea of like what is Singaporean, when our ancestors came here, it was a one-way ticket. Like there was no going back. Whereas now everyone feels like they can go anywhere, they can work anywhere. So the fact that maybe we're not feeling our roots here as much, that worries me. Yeah.
It's interesting because since independence, the government has framed national identity around multiracialism, which means every person should have an equal standing in Singapore, regardless of race. And so, while race came in third when respondents were asked what conflicts with national identity,
In an open-ended question where we asked what it means to be Singaporean, almost 24% of the 2,000 respondents said it was about embracing multiculturalism. And that made this the second most common theme, right after having a sense of pride in being Singaporean.
In the next episode, I dive into the top 2 factors that make being Singaporean more complicated.
Singapore is so globalized that we have all nationalities coming into our country. That clear Singaporean definition may not exist anymore.
Serving national service form a foundation to being Singaporean, because where else can you get someone of different socio-economic status, different race, language, religion, and then you pull them into one pool, BMT, and then you trauma bond for 3 months.